This week on ANN, legal support for Adventist students facing Saturday exams in Kenya.
A partnership in Portugal benefits needy communities.
And Adventists in North America help lift the stigma surrounding mental illness.
These stories and more coming up.
This is ANN, a service of the Seventh-day Adventist World Church. Thanks so much for joining us this week.
First in the news, an interim order from Kenya's highest court is requiring public schools in the country to excuse Adventist students from Saturday classes and exams. The move comes as the Adventist Church in Kenya awaits a ruling in its case against the Ministry of Education and 26 schools it says have violated the country's guarantee of religious freedom. Church leaders say that several Adventist students have been suspended for not attending required classes on Saturday, the day Adventists observe as the biblical Sabbath. Church leaders went to court last year only after extensive diplomatic efforts failed to resolve the issue. Kenya's High Court is expected to rule on the case later this month. Church leaders say they're optimistic about the outcome and hope the ruling provides an example for the region. Adventist students in several nearby countries are reportedly facing similar problems with public school officials.
Well, we're very encouraged by this development, and we hope that the High Court will uphold the right of students to observe the Sabbath, to honor their conscience, and to not have to go to school or take examinations on Sabbath.
Every year, Adventist humanitarians in Portugal collect food and donations for needy community members. This year, the Adventist Development and Relief Agency partnered with a local supermarket chain to expand the drive. As Portugal weathers its worst economic crisis in decades, needs continue to grow. But according to ADRA volunteers, so does a sense of solidarity. TV Adventista sent this report.
The cart is full and we need to empty it out to fill it again. That was the scene all day long in front of the Pingo Doce supermarket. The Adventist Development and Relief Agency sponsors a campaign to collect donations every year. This year, besides selling ADRA magazines and sharing testimonies, the volunteers also collected food. The news team from TV Adventista went to the north of the country to follow up on the work there. Paulo Gomez is responsible for ADRA North. He said the dedication of the volunteers is the key for this campaign.
A nível norte, o envolvimento das pessoas tem sido excelente. Temos bastantes, tanto a nível de alimentos como a nível de dinheiro, temos conseguido boas ofertas. Penso que vamos conseguir o objetivo a nível nacional e temos bastante aderência a nível dos voluntários da ADRA.
Gabriel is 9 years old. It's the first time he has joined an ADRA campaign. To him, his young age is an advantage the older volunteers don't have. What have you been doing here?
Tenho vendido sacas e revistas.
Has it been going well?
Sim,
Have people been helping?
sim, algumas.
Despite difficult times in the country, people are bonding over a common cause.
Está a correr bem porque nesta fase assim maiores dificuldades as pessoas também ajudam-se, aumenta a ajuda entre as pessoas e dessa forma é um bocado mais fácil de aceder até às pessoas.
Nós não imaginávamos que nestes momentos, enfim, as pessoas pudessem ser tão solidárias como, e pessoas às vezes que aparentam pequenos recursos, mas extravasam de alegria quando entregam o saquinho. Isso para nós é comovedor e gratificante, e vemos que as pessoas ainda têm valores nobres dentro dos seus corações, ainda que estejamos em 2013, que muitas vezes nós pensamos que a população está arredia de valores morais e até espirituais, e isso ainda não é verdade, felizmente por isso.
The Adventist Church is among dozens of organizations that pledged this week to increase understanding and awareness of mental health. A task force organized by the Church in North America has set aside February 2014 for special emphasis on mental health. Church health leaders are planning events at local churches and preparing resources for pastors, including an issue of Vibrant Life devoted entirely to mental health. U.S. President Barack Obama applauded the efforts of faith communities, mental health advocates, and other supporters at a conference at the White House on Monday. The event is expected to spark a national conversation about mental health. Administration officials say an estimated 1 in 5 Americans suffers from mental illness. An open dialogue is expected to help lift the stigma often surrounding their struggles.
So the Seventh-day Adventist Church has historically looked at people as a holistic person. Mental health, physical health, they're all combined and linked to spiritual health. And so this is our opportunity to actually partner with this national effort to raise more awareness about mental health and healthy behaviors in our church. We do this, of course, through the years. We've had the Health Summit doing training on mental health. We'll have it again in January, where we'll be doing mental health first aid, depression recovery, recovery ministries, all this training to help people understand it a little better and do something in their own local community and church.
Interest in religiously affiliated clubs is growing amid news that the Boy Scouts of America has reversed its policy toward openly gay members. The youth organization says it will no longer deny membership on the basis of sexual orientation or preference alone. The decision has prompted some conservative churches and parents to drop out of Boy Scouts and seek alternatives for their children. That search has led some to Pathfinders, a club sponsored by the Adventist Church. The club offers service and learning opportunities in a safe Christian environment. Club members pledge to demonstrate appropriate behavior but are not required to join the church. Earlier today, I sat down with James Black, Pathfinder Director for the church in North America, to learn more about the issues at hand. Thank you for joining us, Elder Black. You've been fielding calls in recent weeks from people looking for alternatives to Boy Scouts. How are you responding?
It's been interesting. Because of the decision that they've made, we have lots of leaders that are really concerned about how we should respond to the issue, and many of them are very open right now, just trying to be very careful not to overkill anything. We're not overjoyed by anyone's decision, such in this case, that it becomes our benefit, but we are a ministry, and they are prepared to prepare, and so we're just telling them to be very careful, but they are able to respond.
Pathfinders admits members from any religious affiliation or none at all. What is the thinking behind this policy?
I think it's a great policy for our church. We are a religious organization. Pathfinders is not just about a club, it's a ministry. And we're open to any and every one. Certainly there are guidelines and policies that we live by, but we are very thankful that we have an organization that does not discriminate. But we're about a ministry. We're about the community. We're about helping young people who want to be a part of this, build character and have those skills they can develop through the Pathfinder ministry.
Now, as Pathfinder Director for North America, how would you like local club leaders to respond if a gay or lesbian young person wants to join the club?
I think it's best that we respond the same way the church responds. The church is not just for the good people. You know, Jesus said, I didn't come to call, the righteous, but sinners to repentance. And I think that we want to be open in that we're not looked upon as we just manage good kids, but we manage young people who are looking for alternatives, good alternatives, wholesome alternatives. And so right now we're encouraging our clubs to be community oriented. Understand that you're there not just for your church. This is not one of those, it's just for us kind of ministry. But Pathfinder Ministry is simply about the community. We're very thankful now that we have entire clubs that are pretty much not members of our church, but they see the church and that club as their ministry. And we want to continue that. So that's the message we want to go out, that no matter whether a child is gay or lesbian, yet you cannot practice that openly within the club, but we're going to love you to death, and we're going to be there to minister to you the best we can.
Great. Thank you so much, Elder Black. Coming up, they might have different backgrounds, but a group of young adults in New York City is united for outreach.
God has always been in my life. I call him on all the things that he allows me to call him on by claiming the promises. One of them was when I was a little boy, I wanted a train set, but I didn't have any money. But I had a few bucks. But I turned around and took to church, and I turned around and put it all in a tire for the envelope, and I turned around and I said, okay, Lord, I gave you everything I have, just like the widow's mite. Now you have to bless me because you said you would. So that summer I got so many more jobs, cutting lawns and everything like that, and I made more than enough money to buy the train set that I wanted when I was a little kid. And that works all the way up through to my life now. I run into a financial problem. I'm not saying that you should do it this way, but I've always taken money, lack of a better word, and put it in a tithe envelope and said, God, I'm claiming your promise, make it happen. And it's faith.
I don't remember any moments that my parents hugged me or held my hands, or I never heard that they say, Liana, I love you. I was struggling with a severe depression.
Welcome back. Sandra Blackmore has a look at some of the highlights from this month's issue of Adventist World.
If you've ever questioned whether true unity and diversity within the Adventist Church is possible, take a few minutes to read the June Adventist World cover story titled Unity and Diversity Magnified. 14 young adults, one from each of the Church's 13 world divisions, as well as the Middle East Union, are currently in New York City as part of a General Conference Youth Ministries Department initiative called 1 Year in Mission. The program's goal is to train these young adults ranging in age from 20 to 39 to develop an integrated method of evangelism during a 6-month stay in the city, provide opportunities for them to directly engage in leadership and decision-making, and utilizing their talents to help prepare the groundwork for evangelistic campaigns starting there this month. In this story, these future church leaders tell how they're working through their numerous cultural, theological, and personality differences to focus on mission and help people in need. The growth and development of the Adventist Church in the Inter-European Division is also an interesting read. Adventists in Europe are a minority, with a current membership of 371,000 on a continent of some 700 million people. So explore with the author God's leading in that region and its missionary challenges. Along with news, devotionals, an Adventist life story, and a call by GC President Ted Wilson to take the light of the world to the big cities, this issue is a cover-to-cover read.
As Myanmar, or Burma, moves toward democracy, increasing freedoms are an opportunity for humanitarian agencies to help shape the educational landscape of the Southeast Asian country.
Children who grow up in an environment of war and oppression rarely receive the opportunity of a good education. For the last 60 years, children in Karen villages in Burma have lived in daily fear of attack from armed forces bent on their destruction. If a village tried to build a school for their children, it is very likely that it would be burnt to the ground before the school year was finished. Recent changes in the political environment in Burma have brought an end to the conflict and provided a promising hope for lasting peace to the Karen. This has opened up a wonderful opportunity to develop the educational system throughout the region. Together with the Southeast Mission of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, ADRA is working with local communities to help build a strong educational structure. Through teacher training programs, educational supplies for students, and a supplement to teacher salaries, ADRA is helping Karen villages take a big step forward to a better and brighter future. This year, a portion of the ADRA annual appeal will go directly to help teachers and eager students attending bamboo schools in the remote jungle villages of Burma. Your help during the ADRA appeal will bring learning tools and supplies to 30 schools, helping over 2,000 students get a fresh start on life with a good education. This year, The Seventh-day Adventist Church in the UK is celebrating 100 years of collecting funds to help people in need. To help the children of Burma, we call for everyone to participate in this long legacy of Christian care. Please help us to help.
Danya Aragon has our look at Adventist social media this week. She sits down with Gilbert Kanji to talk about how youth ministry leaders are using Facebook and Twitter to promote next month's Impact South Africa conference.
Thank you, Gilbert, for being with us for this time.
My pleasure, Tanya.
Thank you. Can you tell us a bit more about Impact and where can we find more information about that?
Well, we are just 4 weeks shy of the biggest event for this year as far as youth ministry is concerned. We are expecting 3,200 young people from 93 countries from around the world. So it's very exciting at this stage, and we're very pleased that most of the building blocks are in place. And we just had confirmation today from Dr. Ben Carson that he will be with us during Congress, and also in particular on the last Sabbath we're opening the Congress to the wider community in a stadium where we will have 30,000 people with us. Yeah, you can check out our information on our webpage, of course, impactgcyouth.org, or you can engage with us on our Facebook page, and we have a Twitter account, we are on Instagram. So everything is in there. Come and join us. I want to say this as well, that all our major programs for Congress will be streamed live, and soon we will release the address. So even if you cannot join us physically, you can join us online.
So you can find everything on the website that you mentioned?
You can.
And also you will see it on your screen.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you, my pleasure.
Still ahead on ANN, a unique look at the legacy of Adventist medical outreach.
But up next, how children's ministry leaders are tailoring outreach to impact today's kids.
Every hour of every day, someone, somewhere, is praying for the outpouring of the Holy Spirit. "777", praying at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., 7 days a week.
It would be my hope that every Seventh-day Adventist in the world would have a goal that they're going to adopt in handing this book out. What is their personal goal to distribute this book? Do we really realize the impact that that would have on the world? 200 million books. We would be placing this book in the hands of that many homes around the world, and the impact that that might have for the gospel and for eternity.
I pray for the people that are poor and don't have any homes or no food at all on the streets. I pray for people to be safe. I pray that a lot of things in the world would be fair. I pray for homeless people. I pray that I do a good job in school.
When reading through The Great Hope, I found a phrase that has given me courage and hope. I'd like to share that. God's love for His children during the period of their severest trial is as strong and tender as in the days of their sunniest prosperity. But it's needed for them to be placed in the furnace of fire. Their earthliness must be consumed, that the image of Christ may be perfectly reflected. This gives me hope because I see that God's love never falters. And even though I may find myself in situations that I've brought on myself, God is there to see me through. When I look back, I see how He's led me in trials, and I see how I have been strengthened by going through them. God loves me, and He sees something special, and that gives me hope.
Welcome back. The environment kids are growing up in today is shaping new trends in children's ministry. Linda Coe has details.
What are the major trends in children's ministries today that are driving the church ahead in a positive way? I see 4 of them. Number one, family ministries. It's time children's ministries see the wisdom of collaborating with families to reach children and nurture them effectively. Get parents on board and be involved and equip them to better disciple their children. Trend number two, technology ministry. Children today are born into a digital world of iPhones, iPads, video games, texting, etc. We need to maximize the internet to draw children and youth into our Bible study and Bible activities, games, and more. Media and technology is not an option, it is reality. Trend number three, safety first. Yes, parents today demand that our ministry ensure children's safety with screened volunteers and secure environment to prevent child abuse. Number four, hands-on experience. Children learn best by doing and exploring the world around them. Helping children make faith discoveries through interactive learning and real-life experiences, such as helping in the community, praying for a sick friend, etc., impact them a whole lot more than just listening to a Bible story. Yes, children's ministries leaders need to factor these trends into their programming so that they can minister to the needs of children effectively.
John Beckett has advice on optimizing PowerPoint on this week's Tech Corner. He says the presentation software should illustrate a story, not just a speech.
I'm sure all of us have sat through a boring presentation where the speaker methodically shares one topic at a time with bullet points, all while reading from the screen. Here are a few tips to help point you in a better direction. The biggest challenge is changing your mindset. You need to start thinking of PowerPoint as a way to illustrate your story instead of just echoing what you say. Think of this like reading a book with a small child. To build a presentation like this, you'll want to choose pictures, videos, and short quotes that relate to your topic. Make the pictures interesting and maybe even funny. For properly licensed pictures, try churchphoto.de or sxc.hu. If you need to have some notes while you're presenting, put them in the presenter notes area underneath each slide. Make sure to test that your presenter notes are visible on your screen but not the main screen. I know that some people will often ask for a copy of your PowerPoint. You might choose to remind them that the presentation is not just the PowerPoint file, but instead it's the combination of you speaking plus what's being shown on the screen. You might consider a handout document with key points that you can give to these people. To learn more, just do a Google search for Making Better Presentations. There's now a huge amount of helpful material online. For a more in-depth look at the topic, you can try a book called Presenting to Win by Jerry Wiesman. The TED Talk Speaker Guide is also an excellent free resource. I hope these few tips will help you make your presentations a lot better.
Every month on ANN, we sit down with a guest for a feature we call Dialogue. This month, we spoke with independent filmmaker Martin Doblmeier. His most recent documentary traces the global impact of Adventist medical outreach worldwide.
Thank you, Martin, for being with us today. First, I want to say I've watched both of your films and I appreciate them immensely.
Thank you. That's nice to hear. Thank you very much.
Now, in your first film, The Adventist, you focused primarily on institutional Adventist healthcare. What made you decide in the second film to focus on mission?
Well, the first film, The Adventist, was a look at Seventh-day Adventists, who they are, and the paradigm we used was the health message. So why Adventists are healthy people, why they're living 7 to 10 years longer. But the fundamental notion for the first film was that Adventists take very seriously the idea that the body is the temple of God. And so we wanted in the second film to say that Adventists are taking that health message to the far corners of the earth. But in fact, the second extension of the whole message was that it's not just my body is the temple of God, but your body is as well. And so I have an obligation to care for you, just as I have an obligation to care for myself. And so that really was the motivation for doing the second film.
You highlighted 6 stories in the Adventist 2 film. What criteria did you use to choose those stories?
Well, everybody wants to know, how did you pick these stories? It's one of the hardest questions to answer. First of all, the Adventist health story is a global story, so we knew it had to be a rather big film. In fact, it's probably the most ambitious film we've ever done. We wanted a story in Asia, we wanted a story in Africa, we wanted a story in South America. But also I had gone out on the road with the first film, The Adventist, and I had done congregations and universities and spoken and given presentations of the film, and all the time I'm listening. So I had a resource of all those story ideas too. So coupled with all the research that we had done and the ideas that were coming up, we put together these 6 stories that we chose, which I hope are a sort of an artful mosaic of Adventist, Seventh-day Adventist health story all around the world. And that's really what we wanted to do, create a mosaic that told the story.
I'm sure this question has been asked by many people of you. Do you plan on doing an Adventist 3?
Well, we may not call it Adventist 3, but we are now in the closing chapter of doing a film on Adventist education. It'll be done only here in the United States. It'll be K through 12. But we've shot it all across the country. We're editing it now. We hope to have it done in the next couple of weeks. And it's a very exciting film. It's been a lot of fun to be in Adventist schools all across the country, large and small. It's just been a great process.
I will look forward to seeing that one as well.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Martin, for being with us today. And as you said, you know, we all can't be healers. We're not all, you know, called to the same thing. But you're called to a very important work, and we thank you for fulfilling that calling.
Thank you. God bless you.
God bless you.
You can watch our complete interview with Doppelmayr online at news.adventist.org.
Now let's turn to Benjamin Baker for a look at some of the highlights of this week in Adventist history.
Welcome to This Week in Adventist History, a week of births and deaths of beloved Adventist leaders. On June 2, 1943, Che Tae-hyun died. Hyun was born in 1888 in Korea, converting to Adventism in 1910. For 12 years, he did evangelistic work, followed by 2 decades of administration. By World War II, he was a leader of the Adventist work in Korea, but in 1943 was imprisoned with other Christian leaders by Japanese soldiers in an attempt to suppress Christianity. Hyun was tortured to death 4 months after his capture, the first Adventist martyr in Korea. On June 4, 1870, Oliver Montgomery was born in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Montgomery's was a life of exceptional church leadership in which he variously served as president of the Vermont, Maine, Indiana, and Southeastern Union Conferences, the South American and North American divisions, and as a vice president of the General Conference. His book, Principles of Church Organization and Administration, has been one of the most referenced books on Adventist leadership. The next day, but in 1972, Daniel Dupuy died. The Swiss minister's 44 years of service to the church was mostly in South America, but he is perhaps best remembered as a prolific author, producing some 60 books and pamphlets. And that was This Week in Adventist History.
Thanks for watching A&N. Join us next week for more news from the headquarters of the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
In the meantime, friend us on Facebook. You can connect with other Adventists worldwide and find links to more stories, photos, and videos. Just visit Facebook/Adventist News.
Our good news for this week comes from the New Testament book of Philippians. The passage says, "I know what it is to be in need, and I know what it is to have plenty. I have learned the secret of being content in any situation, whether well-fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or in want. I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength."
That's our program for this week, and remember, you can always visit news.adventist.org for daily news and videos. Until next time, God bless.
Take care.